September 1st, 1939, 6:30 a.m., Bletchley Park, Buckinghamshire. Mist clings to the lawns like a secret unwilling to lift. Inside a dimly lit room of the Victorian mansion, a wireless operator adjusts his headphones. Static hisses, then rhythm. Dots, dashes, a mechanical heartbeat traveling invisibly across the North Sea. Germany has invaded Poland. The signal is crisp, disciplined, relentless. Somewhere beyond the horizon, Kriegsmarine transmitters are pulsing encrypted messages through the air. Orders, coordinates, intentions. But to the men and women inside this quiet estate, it is only noise. For now. Across the gravel path, in Hut 8, a tall, slightly awkward mathematician stands before a chalkboard covered in symbols. His tie hangs loose. His eyes do not blink often. Dr. Alan Turing. Not a soldier, not a general, no medals pinned to his chest. Yet in the coming years, his calculations will determine whether convoys live or die. He listens as a junior cryptanalyst reads out intercepted cipher groups, 5 letters at a time, random, meaningless. QFZLX, HTRPW, MNVKI. To you, it would sound like gibberish. To Turing, it is a locked door, and the enemy changes the lock every day. The German Enigma machine, compact, elegant, almost harmless in appearance, scrambles each message through rotating cipher rotors. With every keystroke, the internal wiring shifts. By midnight, yesterday's solution is useless. By dawn, the system resets again. 150 trillion possible combinations. The room smells of paper, ink, and stale tea. Typewriters clatter in neighboring huts. Outside, England prepares for war. Inside, the war is already mathematical. Turing moves to the window. Beyond the trees, the world seems peaceful, but out in the Atlantic, U-boats are slipping beneath the waves. Admiral Karl Dönitz has unleashed his wolf packs. Merchant ships, slow, vulnerable, carry fuel, food, ammunition from America to Britain. If they sink, Britain starves. If Britain falls, Europe collapses, and every U-boat captain receives orders encrypted by Enigma. The British have captured an Enigma machine before. They have codebooks from Polish intelligence. They have fragments, but fragments are not victory. In Hut 8, Turing sketches a new idea, not to solve Enigma by hand, that would take centuries, but to build a machine that can fight a machine. Electromechanical, relentless, faster than thought. He calls it a bomb. The concept feels impossible, the funding uncertain, the timeline unforgiving. Every day without a breakthrough means more ships lost, more sailors drowning in black Atlantic water. You can almost hear it, the distant explosion of a torpedo striking steel. Somewhere at sea, men are dying because a message could not be read. Turing knows this, and yet he remains calm, almost detached, not out of indifference, but focus. Emotion clouds logic. Logic wins wars. But logic alone will not be enough. Because even if the machine works, even if they crack today's key, the Germans will change it tomorrow. And in the shadows of Bletchley Park, time is the true enemy. What Turing does next will either accelerate the war's end or condemn Britain to fight blind. Winter 1940. The Atlantic is unforgiving. A convoy cuts through black water under a moonless sky. On the bridge of HMS Fidelity, the captain scans the horizon. He cannot see the threat, but he knows it's there. Beneath the waves, a German Type 7 U-boat glides silently, its commander waiting for the coded signal that confirms the attack window. That signal was sent hours ago, encrypted. Back in Buckinghamshire, Hut 8 is no longer quiet. Papers pile high, ashtrays overflow, clocks tick loudly in rooms that never truly sleep. The war has shifted into its most dangerous phase, the Battle of the Atlantic, and Admiral Karl Dunitz's wolf packs are tearing through Allied shipping at a rate Britain cannot sustain. Every lost convoy is a calculation: fuel reserves, bread rations, ammunition stockpiles. Prime Minister Winston Churchill will later call it the only battle that truly frightened him. Inside Bletchley Park, Alan Turing studies Enigma not as a code, but as a machine with habits. He understands something others miss. Enigma's strength is also its weakness. No letter can ever encrypt as itself. It's a small detail, almost trivial, but in a system built on astronomical permutations, that constraint becomes a fracture line. Turing proposes building a device that doesn't guess randomly, it eliminates impossibilities at mechanical speed. Rows of rotating drums wired to simulate Enigma's rotors. Electrical circuits that test thousands of configurations in minutes. The bomb. Skepticism hangs in the air. Resources are scarce. Britain is under aerial bombardment. London burns during the Blitz. Factories are producing Spitfires, not experimental computing devices. But Turing presses forward. Commander Alistair Denniston, head of the Government Code and Cipher School, hesitates. The project is ambitious, expensive, and failure would be humiliating. Yet the alternative is worse: blindness. Engineer Harold Doc Keane from the British Tabulating Machine Company is brought in to turn Turing's theory into steel and wire. The workshop hums with uncertainty. Blueprints are drafted. Drums are machined with precision tolerances. It isn't elegant work. It is industrial, loud, heavy. The first bomb stands nearly 7 feet tall, a forest of spinning cylinders and tangled cables. When activated, it roars, an electrical thunderstorm trapped in a cabinet. It doesn't look like genius. It looks like desperation. Operators feed in a crib, a suspected fragment of plain text, perhaps a predictable phrase like Wetterbericht in a weather report. The bomb begins cycling through rotor positions at dizzying speed. Click, whir, snap. Thousands of possibilities collapse into silence. Hours pass. Then the machine stops. Not because it failed, because it found something, a candidate setting. The room freezes. A junior analyst rushes to test the configuration manually on a replica Enigma machine, fingers trembling, sweat on the brow. The ciphertext begins to transform. Letters align, words emerge, coordinates, grid references in the Atlantic, a U-boat patrol line. For a moment, no one speaks. Somewhere at sea, a convoy's fate has just changed. But triumph is fragile. The Germans upgrade Enigma, additional rotors, more complexity. In February 1942, the Kriegsmarine introduces the 4-rotor Enigma for U-boats, the Triton key. Blackout. Bletchley goes dark again. Convoys are slaughtered at a rate not seen before. The Americans have entered the war, but their coastal shipping burns under Operation Paukenschlag, the drumbeat. Turing stares at the chalkboard once more. The machine he built was revolutionary, and now it is obsolete. The Atlantic grows deadlier by the week. If Hut 8 cannot adapt, Britain may not survive the year. February 1942, North Atlantic, 03:17 a.m. A lookout aboard the American tanker SS Dixie Arrow squints into darkness. The ocean is calm, deceptively calm. Then a streak of white cuts through the water. Too fast, too late. The torpedo slams into steel. Fire erupts into the night sky, oil igniting on the surface of the sea. Men leap overboard into burning water. Somewhere beneath them, a German U-boat slips away, its captain already transmitting success back to Berlin, encrypted. Back in Hut 8, the atmosphere has changed. The earlier optimism is gone. The new four-rotor naval enigma, codenamed Shark by British intelligence, has severed their visibility into the Atlantic. Traffic is intercepted, yes, mountains of it, but it is unreadable. Unreadable means convoys sail blind. Unreadable means men drown. Alan Turing sits hunched over a desk littered with cipher sheets. His mind moves faster than his pencil. The fourth rotor has exploded the search space. The existing bombs cannot cope. He knows something most do not. This is no longer a battle of intellect alone. It is a race against time measured in lives per week. Commander Hugh Alexander steps into the room, face tight with fatigue. "Losses are unsustainable," he says quietly. "The Admiralty is pressing. Churchill is demanding answers." Turing does not respond immediately. Instead, he asks a different question. What patterns remain? Even the most secure system relies on human hands, human routines, predictable phrases, weather reports, status updates, repetition hidden inside complexity. He begins drafting modifications, improvements to the bomb's logic, new diagonal boards to speed contradiction detection, electrical refinements, smarter elimination paths. But engineering takes time, and time is blood. Then a break. October 1942, the Royal Navy captures U-559 in the Mediterranean. As the submarine sinks, sailors board her in a desperate act. Able seaman Colin Grazier and Lieutenant Anthony Fasson retrieve codebooks before the vessel slips beneath the surface. They do not survive, but the documents do. Inside those soaked pages are current key settings, a temporary window into Shark. At Bletchley, the information is rushed to Hut 8. You can almost hear the shift in air pressure when the first settings are tested. The bomb roars back to life. Click, whir, snap. The new refinements bite into the problem like steel teeth. Rotor positions collapse. Logical impossibilities vanish in cascades of sparks and spinning drums. A stop. Another candidate. The Enigma replica hums softly as the setting is dialed in. Letters begin to resolve. Convoy routes, patrol sectors, refueling points. The Atlantic is visible again. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough. Allied commanders reroute convoys around wolf packs. Hunter-killer groups are dispatched with precision. Escort carriers tighten the noose. Radar improves. Long-range Liberator bombers close the mid-Atlantic gap. U-boat captains begin to notice something unsettling. Their prey is no longer blind. By May 1943, the tables turn. In a single month, Germany loses 41 submarines. Admiral Donitz withdraws many of his boats from the North Atlantic. The hunters are hunted. In Hut 8, there is no cheering, only exhaustion. Turing rarely smiles. Victory here is silent, mathematical. But the implications ripple outward, because Enigma traffic does not only guide submarines, it carries the intentions of an entire war machine. And if Bletchley can read it, then the battlefield itself may soon bend. But secrecy shrouds everything. Even those being saved at sea never know why their course was changed. And Turing, the engineer who helped build the weapon that sees through walls of cipher, will never be allowed to tell the world what he has done.
June 5, 1944, 23:42 hours, Southwick House, England. Maps cover the walls. Red string arcs across the English Channel. General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands beneath a single hanging lamp, surrounded by Allied commanders. The room smells of tobacco and tension. The invasion of Normandy hangs on weather, timing, and information. Across the Channel, German units wait. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel believes the main assault will strike at Pas-de-Calais. Adolf Hitler sleeps, unaware that within hours, history will tilt. On the table in Southwick House lies a folder stamped Ultra. Not photographs, not reconnaissance flights, intercepted signals, decoded. In Hut 8 and other sections of Bletchley Park, Enigma traffic has revealed German troop deployments, Panzer Reserve locations, even confusion within the Wehrmacht High Command. Messages between Berlin and the Atlantic Wall commanders pulse daily through the ether, and daily the bombs tear them open. Alan Turing is no longer alone in this fight. Hundreds now work the machines, Wrens feeding cipher groups, engineers maintaining rotating drums, analysts racing against midnight resets. The estate hums day and night like a living organism. You can almost feel it, the vibration of metal cabinets spinning at mechanical fury, while outside, the English countryside remains eerily calm. This is war without gunfire, a quiet war that decides loud ones. The intelligence gleaned from Enigma helps convince Hitler that the Normandy landings are a diversion. Phantom armies, false radio traffic, and strategic deception amplify the effect, but it is decrypted communication that confirms German hesitation. Panzer divisions remain held back. Precious hours pass. On June 6th, Allied troops storm Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. Casualties are horrific. The surf runs red. Yet German reinforcements are delayed, uncertain, misinformed. Information has done what artillery could not. Short sentences now, because the moment deserves them. The war is turning, not with a single explosion, but with a sequence of decoded letters. Throughout 1944, ultra-intelligence guides bombing raids against fuel depots. It exposes supply shortages. It reveals when convoys move and when airfields are vulnerable. Allied commanders begin to anticipate German decisions before they are executed. Imagine fighting an enemy whose thoughts you can sometimes read. Not perfectly, not always, but enough to stay one step ahead. Still, secrecy is absolute. Soldiers charging across Europe never hear the name Alan Turing. Sailors saved from U-boat ambushes never know why the ocean was suddenly empty. The success must remain invisible, even after victory. May 8th. 1945. Victory in Europe. Crowds flood London streets. Flags wave. Bells ring. At Bletchley Park, machines are dismantled, documents burned, staff sworn to silence under the Official Secrets Act. The bombs that once roared day and night are reduced to scrap. The war is over, but the story is not. Because the man who helped shorten it, the engineer who taught machines to fight machines, will return to a country he saved and face a different kind of trial.
December 1951. Manchester, 8:10 a.m. Rain taps against the windows of a modest house on Wilmslow Road. Inside, Dr. Alan Turing sits at his desk, papers scattered around him, mathematical proofs, early designs for computing machines, fragments of ideas that seem almost futuristic. The war is over. The bombs are gone. Bletchley Park has returned to quiet obscurity, and no one is allowed to speak of what happened there. Turing now works at the University of Manchester, designing some of the earliest electronic computers, machines not of whirring drums and mechanical relays, but of vacuum tubes and binary logic. In many ways, he is building the future, but the past remains classified. In 1952, the police knock on his door. A burglary investigation leads to a confession, not about espionage, not about treason, but about his private life. He is charged with gross indecency. The same country that entrusted him with its deepest secrets now prosecutes him. There is no mention of enigma in the courtroom, no acknowledgement of convoys saved, no recognition of the thousands of sailors who returned home because a machine in Hut 8 found the right combination before midnight. He is offered a choice: imprisonment or chemical castration. He chooses the injections. You can almost feel the cruel irony. A man who helped build thinking machines is reduced to a file number in a criminal record. June 7, 1954. He is found dead in his home, cyanide poisoning. An apple rests beside the bed. Officially, it is ruled a suicide. He was 41. For decades, his name fades into obscurity. The work at Bletchley Park remains sealed. Veterans carry secrets to their graves. The war's invisible victory is buried beneath layers of silence. And yet, the consequences endure. Historians will later estimate that breaking Enigma shortened the war in Europe by as much as 2 years. Millions of lives potentially spared. Convoys protected. Campaigns accelerated. Intelligence became the decisive weapon. Not louder guns, not heavier tanks, but information. Today, the once hidden estate of Bletchley Park stands as a museum. The bombs have been reconstructed. Visitors watch their drums spin again, this time not in desperation, but in remembrance. You stand in Hut 8 and try to imagine the pressure, the ticking clock, the knowledge that somewhere at sea men were waiting for your solution. A war decided not only by courage on beaches or bravery in skies, but by an engineer who believed machines could outthink secrecy. Alan Turing never commanded troops, never fired a shot, yet his work bent the trajectory of a global conflict. And for years, no one knew.